The first betrayal. Back in Eldoria, a trusted courtier named Lady Isolde was approached by Varric's agents with promises of wealth and power. Though once loyal to the royal family, fear and greed clouded her judgment. One evening, she slipped a secret letter beneath the queen's door, a letter filled with false warnings designed to sow confusion and mistrust. The queen read the letter, her heart sinking. The words twisted the truth, accusing loyal servants of treachery. "I do not know whom to trust," she whispered to Mira. A web of deceit. The castle became a place of suspicion and fear. Guards eyed each other with mistrust. Whispers turned into accusations. King Thaddeus found himself isolated, unsure of who remained truly loyal. Even his closest advisors hesitated, afraid to speak out. Varric's plan moved forward with chilling precision. He manipulated fears, spread lies, and tightened his grip on the throne's power. The princes learned the truth. One night, Mira used a secret message spell to communicate with the princes. The message was urgent. The kingdom was in peril, and the royal family's enemies were closer than ever. Alaric's eyes darkened. "We must return, not just to break the curse, but to save Eldoria from those who betray it." Caelum nodded, resolve growing. "But we must be careful. The shadows have many faces." The burden of leadership. As the invisible princes prepared for their return, they understood that the curse had taught them more than invisibility. It had shown them the price of power and the pain of betrayal. They would face enemies both magical and mortal. The kingdom they loved was fragile, and only their courage, wisdom, and kindness could restore its light. Mira looked at them, her heart swelling with pride. "Together, we will face the shadows and bring dawn to Eldoria." The shadows of betrayal had fallen over the kingdom, but in the hearts of the invisible princes burned a fierce light. Their quest was no longer just to break a curse, it was to save their home from those who lurked in darkness. The crystal caverns. The air grew colder as the invisible princes and their companions approached the mouth of the crystal caverns. A jagged opening yawned beneath the towering cliffs, shimmering faintly with an ethereal light that pulsed like a heartbeat. The journey through the forest of whispers had tested their courage and kindness, but now a new challenge awaited, one of shadows and light, of riddles and peril. The crystal caverns held the legendary crystal of truth, but it would not reveal itself easily. Entering the caverns, Faelan led the way, his silver fur glowing softly in the dim light. Mira tightened her cloak around her and cast a wary glance at the cavern entrance. The walls sparkled with veins of quartz and glimmering crystals, casting fractured rainbows across the rocky floor. Alaric stepped forward, his invisible form steady and determined. "We've come this far. Whatever awaits inside, we face it together." Caelum nodded, though a tremor of unease passed through him. "The stories say the caverns are full of traps and tests. We must be ready." They crossed the threshold, and the cavern mouth seemed to close behind them as darkness wrapped around the group like a velvet cloak. The first test, the Hall of Echoes. Inside, the sound of their footsteps echoed endlessly. The cavern walls seemed to breathe with magic, murmuring in tongues older than the kingdom itself. Suddenly, the cavern filled with voices, not their own, but whispers of doubt and fear. "Who dares enter the crystal caverns?" a booming voice demanded. Alaric's heart pounded. "We seek the crystal of truth to break a curse," the voice laughed, echoing through the chambers. "Then prove your worth. Face your fears, or turn back forever." Before them, a path of glowing stones appeared, each stepping stone a question, each question a test. Mira stepped forward bravely. The first stone glowed beneath her foot, and a voice whispered, "What is courage?" Alaric answered without hesitation, "Courage is acting even when afraid, standing for what is right." The stones lit in response, leading them deeper into the cavern. The maze of illusions. The path twisted into a labyrinth of mirrors that reflected not their images, but visions of their deepest fears. Caelum stared as one mirror showed him lost and alone. Another revealed a future where the curse was permanent, and Eldoria fell into ruin. Mira held his hand. "These are illusions. Remember who you are." Alaric moved forward, breaking a mirror that trapped him in doubt, and the labyrinth began to dissolve. The Bridge of Shadows. Next, the group faced a narrow bridge suspended over a dark abyss. The bridge shifted and flickered, threatening to vanish beneath their feet. Faelan's voice was calm. "Trust in each other. The bridge is as strong as your faith." Hand in hand, they crossed the Bridge of Shadows, their steps steady despite the darkness below. The Crystal Chamber. At last, they reached a vast chamber where the Crystal of Truth floated above a pedestal, glowing with a pure, radiant light that seemed to pulse with the heartbeat of the world. But before they could approach, a figure emerged from the shadows. A tall guardian clad in shimmering armor that reflected the light in dazzling patterns. "I am Lysara, guardian of the crystal," the figure said. Her voice was both gentle and commanding. "To claim the crystal, you must prove your hearts are true. No deception, no malice, no selfishness." The guardian's challenge. Lysara raised her hand, and the chamber filled with swirling visions, moments from the prince's past, times when they felt anger, fear, jealousy, or doubt. "You carry the weight of invisibility and isolation," Lysara said softly. "But do you also carry forgiveness and hope?" Alaric stepped forward, voice steady. "I have struggled with anger and pride, but I know my path is to protect, not to dominate." Caelum's eyes shone with tears. "I feared loneliness but learned that kindness is the light in darkness." Mira nodded. "I have stood by them not out of duty alone, but because I believe in their hearts." The test of truth. Lysara smiled and extended her hand. "Speak now your deepest truth." Alaric spoke, his words clear and sincere. "I seek to be seen, not for power, but to serve my kingdom." Caelum added, "I wish to bring hope to those who feel unseen and unheard." Lysara's armor shimmered, and the crystal of truth descended slowly into their hands. Breaking the curse, as Alaric and Caelum held the crystal, its light enveloped them, filling the chamber with warmth and brilliance. The invisible veil began to lift, revealing the princes to each other and the world. The curse that had hidden them for so long was breaking, powered by courage, kindness, and truth. A new beginning. With the crystal of truth in their possession and their hearts tested and found pure, the princes knew their journey was far from over. But now, armed with new strength and the promise of light, they were ready to return to Eldoria and face the shadows waiting at home. Mira smiled, her heart full of hope. "Together, we will restore the kingdom." Faelan's eyes sparkled. "And where you lead, I shall follow." The crystal caverns had challenged their bravery and wit, and the invisible princes had triumphed. The future of Eldoria awaited them. The power within. The crystal of truth pulsed gently in Alaric's and Caelum's hands, its radiant light warming their skin like the sun's first rays. In the quiet depths of the crystal caverns, the magic it held seeped into their very souls, stirring something long dormant. A power waiting to be awakened. The princes, who had been invisible shadows for so long, now felt a strange new strength rising inside them, a gift disguised by the curse that had once confined them. a vision of their true selves. As the light from the crystal grew brighter, Alaric and Caelum closed their eyes and were drawn into a shared vision. They saw themselves not as the unseen boys they had been, but as leaders, radiant and confident. They saw the faces of their people, hopeful and trusting, looking to them for guidance and protection. The crystal's voice, both soft and clear, whispered, "Invisibility is your shield and your strength. Through it, you see the unseen and hear the unheard. You are not merely hidden, you are gifted." Alaric felt a warmth spreading through his chest. He saw the burden of invisibility in a new light, not as a curse, but as a power to understand others who felt unseen. Caelum's vision showed him connected to the kingdom's heartbeat, sensing the needs and emotions of the land itself. He realized his sensitivity was not a weakness, but a gift. Awakening new powers. When their eyes opened, everything seemed sharper. Sounds carried farther, colors glowed brighter, and the faint magic of the caverns thrummed through their veins. Alaric concentrated and felt his body shimmer. Slowly, he faded from sight, then reappeared with a quiet smile. Now, invisibility was no longer something imposed on him, but a power he could wield. Caelum reached out and touched a glowing crystal on the cavern wall. He felt its magic ripple through him and realized he could sense not just physical things, but emotions and intentions around him. He could see the unseen feelings of others. Mira watched with awe. "This is the true power within you, princes. Your invisibility is also a gift of perception and protection." Mastering control. Over the next days, the princes practiced using their newfound powers. Alaric learned to cloak and reveal himself at will, moving silently like a shadow. Caelum honed his ability to read the emotions and intentions of those nearby, learning to listen to the faintest heartbeat of the world. Together they discovered they could communicate without words, sending thoughts and feelings to one another in a secret language forged by trust and magic. Faelan, the silver fox, guided them patiently. "These powers come with great responsibility. They will serve you well, but only if used wisely and with kindness." A test of perception. One morning, standing beside a still pool of water in the cavern, Caelum touched its surface. The pool shimmered and showed images far away, the worried faces of their parents, the unrest stirring within the kingdom. Alaric studied the reflections. "We can watch from afar, but we must use this gift to protect, not to spy." Mira nodded. "Your power is a tool. Use it for good, and it will guide you safely." Confidence blossoms. With each passing day, the princes grew stronger and more confident. The fear and loneliness that had once clouded their hearts began to fade. Alaric declared, "We are no longer hidden victims. We are the unseen guardians." Caelum smiled. "Our invisibility taught us patience and empathy. Now our power will help us heal the kingdom." Mira's eyes shone with pride. "You have found your true selves." A bond with the land. The magic awakened by the crystal connected them deeply to Eldoria itself. They could feel the pulse of the earth beneath their feet, the whisper of the wind, and the ancient energy flowing through the forests and rivers. This bond was a new source of strength, one that tied their fate to the kingdom's future. A promise to protect. As twilight bathed the caverns in soft light, the princes stood united. "We have the power," Alaric said, "but more importantly, the choice to use it for good." Caelum added, "Our invisibility was a challenge, but it also taught us compassion and hope." Mira smiled warmly. "The kingdom needs leaders like you." Faelan's tail flicked with loyalty. You are ready to face whatever comes next. Preparing to return. Armed with new powers and unwavering resolve, the princes knew the time had come to return home. No longer shadows but lights, they would bring hope to Eldoria once more. The crystal of truth, safely guarded, would help them break the curse completely and reclaim their place in the world. The invisible princes had found the power within themselves, a power of courage, kindness, and deep magic. Their journey was far from over, but with this strength, the future of Eldoria shone brighter than ever. The journey back to Eldoria was filled with a growing sense of urgency. The crystal of truth had awakened powers within Alaric and Caelum, but news had reached them through Mira's magical messages that the kingdom was slipping into chaos. Lord Varric's dark ambitions had taken hold, and the once proud castle was now a place shadowed by suspicion and fear. They could feel the pulse of the earth beneath their feet, the whisper of the wind, and the ancient energy flowing through the forests and rivers. This bond was a new source of strength, one that tied their fate to the kingdom's future. A promise to protect. As twilight bathed the caverns in soft light, the princes stood united. "We have the power," Alaric said, "but more importantly, the choice to use it for good." Caelum added, "Our invisibility was a challenge, but it also taught us compassion and hope." Mira smiled warmly. "The kingdom needs leaders like you." Faelan's tail flicked with loyalty. "You are ready to face whatever comes next." Preparing to return. Armed with new powers and unwavering resolve, the princes knew the time had come to return home. No longer shadows but lights, they would bring hope to Eldoria once more. The crystal of truth, safely guarded, would help them break the curse completely and reclaim their place in the world. The invisible princes had found the power within themselves, a power of courage, kindness, and deep magic. Their journey was far from over, but with this strength, the future of Eldoria shone brighter than ever. The battle for Eldoria. The journey back to Eldoria was filled with a growing sense of urgency. The crystal of truth had awakened powers within Alaric and Caelum, but news had reached them through Mira's magical messages that the kingdom was slipping into chaos. Lord Varric's dark ambitions had taken hold, and the once proud castle was now a place shadowed by suspicion and fear. The invisible princes knew their quest was not only to break the curse, but to save their home from those who sought to destroy it. Return. Under the cover of darkness. As dusk painted the skies with fiery streaks, Alaric, Caelum, Mira, and Faelan approached the outskirts of Eldoria. The once vibrant lands now looked subdued, the villagers wary and silent. "We must move carefully," Mira warned. "Varric's men patrol the roads and watch the gates." Alaric nodded, the cloak of invisibility now firmly under his control. "We will enter unseen and strike when the time is right." With practiced ease, the princes slipped past the guards, unseen shadows returning to their kingdom. A castle in turmoil. Inside the castle, the atmosphere was tense and heavy. Noble families whispered in corridors, alliances shifted like sand, and fear gripped the hearts of many. Lord Varric sat upon the king's throne, his expression smug and cruel. "The rightful rulers are gone," he proclaimed to the court. "Eldoria needs strength and order. I will provide it." But beneath his confidence lay fear, fear of the prince's return, fear of losing the power he had so ruthlessly seized. Rallying the loyal. Alaric and Caelum knew their first task was to find allies within the castle. They met secretly with trusted servants, loyal guards, and those still faithful to the king and queen. Mira acted as their voice, her courage inspiring hope. The princes live, they return with power and purpose, stand with them. Slowly, support grew, but Varric's spies lurked in every shadow, ready to betray. The battle begins. Word spread quickly. The invisible princes had returned. Varric's forces moved to capture them, but Alaric and Caelum used their invisibility and new powers to outmaneuver and confuse their enemies. The castle became a maze of shifting shadows and whispered commands as battle erupted. Guards loyal to the princes clashed with Varric's men in the great halls and narrow stairways. Magic and strategy. Caelum used his heightened perception to anticipate enemy movements, guiding allies safely through ambushes. Alaric struck swiftly and silently, disabling key opponents and inspiring his followers. Faelan darted through the fray, a silver streak sowing confusion among Varric's ranks. Mira coordinated efforts, her bravery a beacon to those who fought for justice. Confrontation with Varric. At last, Alaric confronted Varric in the throne room. The noble sneered, drawing a hidden dagger. "You think your magic can save you?" Varric hissed. "The kingdom is mine." Alaric's voice was calm but firm. "Eldoria belongs to its people, not to tyrants." With a flash of light from the crystal of truth, Alaric disarmed Varric and revealed his treachery to all. Restoring the throne. With Varric's defeat, order began to return to Eldoria. The king and queen welcomed their sons back, tears of joy and relief shining in their eyes. The curse that had bound the princes lifted completely as they stood visible to all, their powers a symbol of hope and renewal. A kingdom united. The people of Eldoria rejoiced. Festivals lit the streets. Songs of the invisible princes who had become heroes echoed through the land. Alaric and Caelum vowed to rule with wisdom and kindness, their journey forever shaping their reign. The battle for Eldoria was won, but the invisible princes knew their true work was just beginning, to heal, protect, and guide their kingdom into a brighter future. Breaking the curse. The dawn broke over Eldoria with a golden light that seemed to cleanse the kingdom of its recent shadows. The battle was won, the traitors defeated, and the princes returned not only visible to the eyes of their people, but shining with a newfound power and wisdom. Yet, despite the joyous celebrations and hopeful songs that filled the air, Alaric and Caelum knew their journey was not yet complete. The final step remained, the breaking of the ancient curse that had bound them in invisibility since birth. The final trial. Deep within the heart of Eldoria's grand cathedral, beneath stained glass windows that cast kaleidoscopic patterns on the marble floor, the princes stood before the crystal of truth. The relic, now safe in the kingdom's care, pulsed softly with magic waiting to be unleashed. Lysara, the guardian who had tested their hearts in the crystal caverns, appeared beside them. Her presence was both serene, and the princes now flowed openly through Eldoria. The crystal of truth was enshrined in the castle's heart, a symbol of the kingdom's resilience and the power of courage and kindness. Faelan, the silver fox, remained a loyal companion, a living reminder of the forest's wisdom and the strength found in trust and friendship. A promise for the future. As the sun set over the kingdom, casting a warm glow across the land, Alaric and Caelum stood atop the castle walls, looking out over Eldoria. "We have faced darkness and found the light," Alaric said quietly. Caelum nodded. "And with that light, we will guide our people toward a new dawn." They clasped hands, a silent vow to protect, to serve, and to lead with hearts open wide. The invisible princes had become visible heroes. Their story was one of courage, kindness, and the enduring power of hope. And so, the kingdom of Eldoria stepped boldly into its new dawn, its future bright and full of promise.